My psych MP has gotten to know me much better over the 2.5 years-ish, right? Yeah. Um, Sometimes she just laughs. I'll say, like, listen, here's what happened last week. I know where I went wrong. And she'll sit there and she's like, and I'm like, just say it. Just say the thing. Just say it to me. And she's like, no, I will not. You carry on. She's like, if you want my opinion, like, or like a thought on this, I will give it to you. She's like, but absolutely not. And I just like, I'm at the point where I get into my sessions and I'm like, listen, I need your help talking through this thing, but I did this thing and I know that it is not what we talked about, but in the moment it felt good. And it's what I think that I needed to do. And she's like, no, great. That is okay. And I think just the level of honesty and vulnerability and never giving her personal input on like how she feels I should behave is great for me, but also like being aware of like that wasn't right. There were other things that were like below the surface. My psych MP does this all the time. She's like, we're here. There's so much here. Um, and all the things that were here, we're still working through. And knowing that like throwing medication at me, like, yeah, I probably would have been calmer, but the hurt would have still been there. And not wanting to like just a quick fix more so than like what is the long-term game plan. And in my mind, I had came into Lavender like, great, my doctor told me to do this for 6 months. I'll do this for 6 months. And then on month 6, I'm gone. And that did not happen. I have been with Lavender now since September of 21. So it's about to be 3 years this coming September. And it's a decision like I thank my PCP, but also like am grateful for my psych MP for just being a voice of reason, but also ensuring that like growth is happening. Um, that is the power of like the growth of the sessions and the relationships that we have developed because there were moments where I didn't say things where like I think it was last summer that I revealed something to them and she was like, "Oh, this now makes sense about all these other things." And I was like, "Yeah, I just like didn't know how to say it and I didn't want you to like think less of me or whatever." And I think just like getting over that on my own, where it's like, I've never been judged ever while seeing this person, but building up that sense of trust and knowing that like, oh, I know now that like it is different because from then because of like we can laugh about this thing, or I'm now able to like, I'll tell you this thing and not even second guess it coming out of my mouth of like, here's the truth of what's going on. And like if I say one thing I'd walk away from is that like that vulnerability and the full honesty is it helped her to better help me grow as a person. And now we can like laugh about things. And I'm just like, that was laughable and probably won't do that again. But in the moment, 10 out of 10 did it.
I wasn't able to fly I used to fly, I'm not even kidding, maybe every 2, 3 months before I started getting panic attacks. I have a house in Florida. My grandparents live down there. I'm very close to my grandmother. I would constantly go and see her. I would travel to Aruba twice a year. Like I was on the go a lot. And that took a screeching halt. And I recently, I think it was last October, was my first time getting back on a flight. And her and I kind of prepped for it for a while of, all right, well, what are we going to do if this happens? And what are we going to do if that happens? And are you sure I'm going to be okay? And she just really leaned in on all the different techniques I could use, all the different things I could try, um, and just straight up said, I'm on the other end of an email. Like, if you need something, you contact Lavender, they will contact me, and I am a phone call away. And just knowing that, like, that all I have to do is send an email and be like, hey, I need her. And they would have her reach out to me was also a huge deal. So I think that I got on that plane, and I will say I was a little nervous. Um, but I got there, and it was a huge, like, oh my God, I did it. I couldn't wait to I was on my trip. I could not wait to come home and get on my therapy to tell her, like, oh my God, I did it. So that was big for me. I can't imagine my weekly appointments not happening. I look forward to them. And, I have a notebook where, like, if things happen throughout the week, I have therapy on Wednesday. So if something happens on Thursday, I'll write it down and I'll make sure I address it and things like that. But I feel like you see therapy on TV and it's like, how do you feel? And how did that make you feel? It's not like that. It's very personalized. They're really genuinely looking for you and what you need to move forward and to get past this. I feel like a lot of therapists also, they'll kind of just be like, all right, well, what's your medication? We'll talk about this on our next session. I feel like with my practitioner, her end goal is not to have me on here for another year. She wants me to, not that she wants to get rid of me, but she wants my growth. She wants me to not have to be in therapy every week. She doesn't want to have me rely on medication and things like that. So, and knowing that makes me feel better because I know she's not, that she genuinely has my best interest at heart.
Lavender definitely has exceeded my expectations because before I saw them, I had sort of a very grim outlook on the whole kind of like mental health field. I found it very difficult to find, any sort of practitioners that were open to new patients. And if they were, they had very high fees and they did not take insurance. If, they somehow did take my insurance and they were willing to accept a new patient, they had limited opening slots that would be sort of in the middle of the day when I had work. And then, any other type of mental health care I did seek, I sort of felt like I wasn't truly listened to. I felt like I was judged. And so I think Lavender has been really great in feeling like I have been seeing people who really understand me and people who care about my mental health journey. And it really exceeded my expectation because when I made my first appointment, I was like, well, it's remote in person in my room. Like, I guess we'll just see how this goes. And here I am 3 years later, and it has been the best thing about my past few years. It has just changed my life so much for the better. And so I think that it's exceeded my expectations, not only with like the level of care I've received, but also with my ability to regularly go to appointments because they accept my insurance. It's really affordable for me. I think the medication management has been excellent. They always are willing to work with pharmacies. And I think the level of care is just outstanding. I think the practitioners have been nothing but kind, respectful, empathetic, and have truly wanted me to just be the best version of myself and have been there to support me every step of the way.